Hi, Victoria.
Hi, Zeenia. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you? Thanks for agreeing to this interview. I appreciate it.
Not at all, not at all. Let's go for it. We were just talking before we started recording about the breaking news of Prince Andrew reaching this out of court settlement with Virginia Giuffre. That's the woman who accused him of sexually assaulting her. So yeah, there's news breaking out all the time.
All the time. That actually brings me to the question. As a broadcaster in this country, obviously you've got to be impartial. So do you find that difficult? Because I can imagine, it's different to just having a chat with a pal about what you've seen on the news. When you're delivering the news, do you find it hard to um I mean, I know you're very experienced, but is it strange, not to give your own perspective?
No, it's completely normal. I have been doing it for so long, and also I don't I don't even really care what my opinions are. So the reason that the idea that someone else would care what my opinion was, no one cares, literally. And also I really enjoy the fact that being impartial and being required to be impartial means that although people might think they know which way I vote or what I think about a particular issue, actually they don't. And it means I'm an honest broker when it comes to interviewing a politician from any particular party, or in doing anything controversial around abortion or trans rights or whatever it may be. I've done so many controversial issues over the years. And the fact that nobody actually knows what I think, I really, really, I enjoy the fact that we are required to be impartial at the BBC.
It's great, isn't it? Because like you alluded to, it kind of affords you some privacy. You're a public figure, you've got large followings, but you still, you know you're not telling everyone everything.
And I wonder if I I'm lucky, touch wood, that I don't get trolling, particularly on social media. Now, one of the reasons might be because I had cancer, so maybe people don't want to be mean. But the other reason I'm convinced is because I don't put my opinions out there because I can't and because I don't want to. And so there's not that much for people to disagree with. I mean, people do message me and say, why did you, they might be a bit grumpy and say, why did you ask that question? Or why did you do? Now, I always engage in that, absolutely, as long as people are not rude. And as soon as you engage, people are like, oh yeah, I get it now. Because whatever I say or however I say it or whatever question I ask, I've always thought about it. People might not agree with the way I've asked it, but there's always a thought process behind it. Do you know what I mean?
No, that's good to know. I guess that's probably why you're in broadcast and not print then, isn't it?
Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and no, the reason I'm in broadcasting, not print, is because when I was actually at Liverpool Uni, I wrote for the university newspaper,
Yeah.
just, book reviews and film reviews and that kind of thing. And I actually didn't particularly enjoy the writing or didn't think I was that good at it, which is what spurred me on to sort of look around for other ways of doing journalism, which is when I realised you could do radio or TV journalism.
Yeah, it's amazing. So do you remember anything that you did write for the university paper?
I do. And probably somewhere I've probably got some copies of it because I keep everything. Um,
Wow.
so I went to interview an actor called Kathy Tyson, who was appearing at the Everyman Theatre.
Oh, lovely.
I actually can't remember the play, but I remember being so nervous about going to the theatre and sitting in a dressing room and asking her questions. She was really lovely to me, which was amazing because I was nervous as hell. I remember I reviewed a book called The Commitments by Roddy Doyle. Just stuff like that, like no big shakes, but it was just a kind of, that was where I my interest in journalism and talking to people and asking questions started.
That's interesting because that's how I feel right now with you. So did you always want to go into journalism then? Like, was it something that, you thought, oh, I want to break
No,
news fresh out of the womb, or was it something that developed?
when I was growing up, we listened to Radio 1. My mum used to get the Daily Express. News was not a thing in our house. It really wasn't. We didn't talk about current affairs. I didn't know anything. When I think about my kids now, they are so aware of what's going on in the world, probably because both their parents are journalists. And we've got radio on all the time. We've got websites up, social media, etc., etc. Honestly, I didn't even know that. I didn't know about journalism. Honestly, we barely watched the news. Nothing. It's so weird. Um, And I did, even when I was writing for the university newspaper, I wasn't thinking this is journalism. I was just doing a bit of, messing about at the university newspaper. And then when I thought, oh, I quite like this, but I'm not so sure about the writing, that's when I started to sort of investigate a bit more about radio as it happened. So I started to do some voluntary work for Toxteth Community Radio Station, which was a pirate radio station, doing a bit of news for them, which was poor, but they were so nice and they let me do it. And it sort of went from there. So it was only when I got to uni that those ideas started to sort of formulate, if you like.
Yeah, and I believe you also studied English.
I did English language and literature, which I love.
Yeah, you enjoyed that then.
I really enjoyed it, but mostly I enjoyed the social life at Liverpool. It was
amazing, right? Am I right in recalling that you were at Carnatic Halls?
I certainly was. And it was such a laugh. Oh my God. Made some amazing friends. I'm friends with loads of them still. I just had the best 3 years ever.
That's good to hear. So are you aware that Carnatic Halls, or Carney as a lot of people called him, were knocked down? Carney.
Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. And the reason I'm aware is because my son is just turned 18. He's doing his A-levels and he's applied for we live in London now. He's applied for all universities in the north of England, where I'm from. So I'm really happy with that.
Yeah.
When and we would and he applied for Liverpool and he was Googling. I'm like, hey, where's the halls of residence that I was at? Gone. Could not believe it. What the hell, man?
I know, it's a shame, isn't it? It would have been nice to, visit Carnatic on your...
Did they just sell off the land or something?
I think the conditions were so poor. There was a lot of mold and just, it was really old and not looked after. I remember going there and it just kind of, it was so bright and colourful. Everyone there had the most fun at uni. Yeah. They loved it so much. So it is a shame, yeah. And you've not been to Liverpool for a while, have you?
I can't actually remember the last time I went. Just trying to think, because I didn't go to the open day with my son.
No.
I can't remember.
Such a great city. I'm sure you'd love it if you returned.
Oh no, and I bet it's changed. I mean, when I was there, they were just building around the Albert Dock area. It was really kind of up and coming. And I'm sure it's changed dramatically since the last time I was there. So I must go back and visit.
Yeah, I'm sure you would enjoy it. Was it Smithdown as well that you lived on?
I lived off Smithdown Road. God, I can't remember what the name of the road was that I lived in, but we lived in a terraced house, me and 3 other girls. We had the best time ever. We were really good friends with 4 blokes who lived near Edge Hill train station. We lived on the same street as a band called the Lars, who you've probably never heard of. But they were just up and coming at the time. They came around for tea. We knew them. Wow. It was so cool, honestly.
Yeah.
It was great.
Did you ever end up interviewing them, or I suppose you were already like mates, so you might not have
No, I didn't. But how stupid is that? How come I didn't do that? What an obvious idea. Oh my God, I'm embarrassed. But no, I didn't.
It's only obvious in hindsight, isn't it? If you already know them well, then it doesn't really matter. So how would you say that the media in, I suppose, your lifetime has changed since you started?
Massively. I mean, when I was at uni, we didn't even have the bloody internet. We didn't have mobile phones. I can't believe it.
Wow.
So it's changed dramatically. I remember when I used to co-present the breakfast show on 5 Live. I started that in 1998, 99. And literally it was just when emails were taking off. So me and my co-presenter, Julian, would be so excited when we got an email from
Oh, bless you.
How mad does that sound? So obviously it's changed dramatically. Social media is where stories are broken now. It's much easier to do stories. It's much easier for people to be journalists. Anyone can write a blog. Anyone can record a story on any element of social. Everything is done via your phone. You can edit TV pieces on your phone. You can do radio on your phone. You can broadcast from your phone. Everyone can do stuff from this, and that is the biggest difference,
For sure. I suppose the rise of citizen journalism. Then, what do you think of that? Then, what kind of stance do you have on that? Because too many.
I feel like there's a kind of democratization of journalism, which I like. On the other hand, I know, because I'm on every social media platform, I can see stuff that's not accurate. And so it's interesting when I talk to my kids about, you know, how do you know which sources like that? I can't think of an example, but they'll come home and go, have you heard about the such and such story? I'm like, okay, where did you see that? On TikTok. Okay, what was the source? You know, some bloke down the pub. Okay, so let's have a look at that. You do know that's not accurate, and so that's really interesting to me. And yeah, and I suppose in a world of fake news, it becomes even more important that the sources that people follow are trustworthy. And I hope I'm one of those trustworthy sources, you know.
Of course, yeah. The BBC is, you know, known to be very accurate and impartial. It is worrying, I suppose, when you think of younger people, maybe tweens, if that's even the word, when they're, you know, 12, 13-year-olds, when they're accessing news, a lot of them don't tend to go to, I think, BBC, ITV. You know, when you're that young, I don't think I was, you know, paying too much
You don't know about it. Just
you don't, yeah.
Instagram or whatever, don't you? Or
Sure.
Facebook. I mean, I don't know. I feel like Facebook's still a big thing, but I do feel like it's fading a little bit, but maybe I'm wrong.
No, I agree. I think a lot of people use them for university group chats and events, but that's it really. It's just sort of the old thing.
Stuff gets circulated on, I mean, and a lot of accurate stuff as well, but a lot of fake stuff like anti-COVID vaccine conspiracy theories get
Yeah.
on social media. So yeah.
It's dangerous. So it's dangerous. Would you say, as a woman, do you feel like you faced difficulties that maybe a man in your position hasn't faced in your career?
I'm going to say no, not really. And that might be to do with the nature of my personality. I'm not, you know, I feel like I'm quite confident. I've had a couple of what you might call sexist kind of experiences. They're no big shakes compared to what some women have faced. For example, when I was in radio, when I was doing the breakfast show, you get in the morning and there's always a female presenter and a male co-presenter, and the producer would gravitate towards the bloke to talk to them about the sports interviews that were coming up on the show. And after a while, because I knew my sport and because I'd done the reading, I said, so I could do that football interview, you know, and I would just say stuff like that.
Good, yeah.
You do have to sort of pluck up the courage. Once you do it, and once you show that you do know your shit, then it's fine, you know.
For sure.
I'm sure that wouldn't happen now. I'm sure that like
No.
late 90s, early 2000s, you know.
Yeah, I'm sorry to hear that. You got mansplained.
Yeah, I did. But I dealt with it. I called it out in a nice, polite way. And then, excuse me, then when I was given the opportunity, I did it well.
I think that's why you're so likable. You know, you're polite, you still get your point across. I think a lot of the time in society, maybe less so now, women are sort of expected to be submissive and get on with it. I know it's easy, you know, even when you go to a football match, there's loads of, whenever I tell, you know, a lad like, oh, I'm kind of into Arsenal, not massively, they're like, oh, name 6 players. I think, you know, it's so ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like they see a woman.
On to that. What do you say?
What do I say? I usually just try to list as many as I can, and then I just sort of hope that that's impressed them. And then, but do you know what, Victoria? I'm not good with names. I know faces. So when I struggle,
And also, you should say, why do I need to name 6 players? For what purpose?
exactly, like just because I'm a female, does that mean it is a shame? Well, hopefully, you know, that's not as big an issue these days. But would you say that? So you'd say that things regarding attitudes regarding female journalists have improved. What would you say there are other areas that not just the BBC, but you know, broadcasters in general could improve on?
I mean, strides are being made with equal pay, which is an
Yes.
absolute scandal. Strides are being made when it comes to diversity. And when I say diversity, I'm talking about people of colour. I feel that there's a lot of work to do when it comes to diversity of class.
Yes.
There are, you know, broadcasting is populated by middle class people. I include myself in that. And I just think that in order to connect with Gen Z or Gen Z, there's got to be a kind of working class recruitment revolution. I really do feel that. Otherwise, we're just not, certainly I'm talking from a BBC point of view. We have to represent the whole of the country. We have to represent people everywhere. And I'm not sure we do that at the moment. I'm not sure people can switch on their TV news and see people who look and sound like them. And that is a big deal. And when we've got a lot of work to do there.
Yeah, no, 100%. It's always, good to recognize your privilege. Would you say, I would also say though, as a Northern woman, that's pretty amazing in itself. And I think that's what I find quite encouraging. The television is populated by, like you said, often middle class people. And did you feel pressure as a Northerner to sort of dial down your accent a little bit?
I did a bit when I first started in network radio, and that was, no one said anything to me. It was pressure I put on myself. But I worked in local radio in Manchester, BBC GMR, and I loved it. And I got headhunted to go to Five Live, and I loved Five Live. I listened to it. That was my dream to work there. I could not believe it. I was 28, moved from Manchester to London, and I thought, oh my God, maybe I have to speak a little bit posher when I'm on the radio.
Yeah.
And I did a bit for a few months, and then I relaxed, and then I'm like, it's fine, isn't it? It's fine.
Exactly.
Absolutely fine. But that was me putting pressure on myself because I thought that was what was expected. No one asked me to do that. No one expected it. And I was wrong.
But I don't blame you. Whenever you switch on the TV, like you said, regarding representation, it's always middle class people that, end up grabbing those opportunities. So, even you've got Emily Maitlis, who's amazing. She actually found out, she went to the school next door to mine. She's from Sheffield. Yeah. And I just thought, wow, she's so posh. I mean, I know I also hold my hands up and say I am middle class, but I didn't realize that she was from Sheffield. And I just wondered, is there still like sort of an expectation? But I think, it does sound like things are getting better.
In terms of the class thing, really slowly.
Yeah.
Really slowly. And it won't change until the people who are hiring, that layer of management,
sure,
some of them need to be working class or not have got a university degree, because often people hire people like themselves, and that's why it's not changing quickly enough.
No, there are so many Oxbridge educated BBC journalists as well, but then I feel like back in the day, there are some that don't have a university qualification. It's interesting. Doesn't, it's not everything, is it, in journalism? No. I suppose it's just what would you say makes a good journalist?
Sorry, it looks really dark in here. I think it is actually going dark outside.
That's okay.
You've got to be curious. You've got to be genuinely interested in people. I know I am. I know even if I wasn't a journalist, I would people all the time. You've got to be, I feel, kind. Why would people tell you something if you weren't kind to them, and if you didn't create a safe space for them to talk to you? You've got to look after people. You've got to, I really feel a responsibility and a duty of care towards people who come on TV and radio and talk about some very intimate things, which they have done with me over the years. And I'm so grateful that they've trusted me. I think you've got to care about people. That's it. You've got to care about people. Those are the stories that resonate, stories about people and their lives.
Yeah. What would you, in an alternate universe, what job would Victoria Derbyshire have if she wasn't a journalist?
I might be a barrister. Because
okay.
I do think there's quite a lot of similarities. I think I try to be the kind of journalist, this is going to sound so earnest, but I try to be the kind of journalist that helps to maybe correct injustices. And I think in an alternate world, I might be a barrister who helped to correct injustices, potentially.
I suppose, no, it makes sense. You've got the same sort of mission. I think that's the good thing about, especially with broadcast, people stories, you get to interact with people. It sounds like that's what makes you tick.
Totally.
Yeah. Would you say these days, I say it as if you're like really old, which you're not, obviously. I apologize.
I'm actually 53, Zeenia. So I'm guessing you think that's quite old.
No, it's not. Old.
I feel old. Jesus Christ, I feel like about 30. I've got so much.
That's a good thing, of course. Who are your favourite journalists then? Like,
Oh God, that's so hard.
you can take your time. I know there's millions.
Okay, I'm just going to list a load of people. Like when I was in my sort of 20s and 30s, there was a guy on Radio 4 who's sadly not with us anymore called Nick Clark, who used to present The World at 1 each lunchtime. And he was so polite and super, super forensic. And I really admired him. Other journalists I like because of the way they ask questions sometimes include Eddie Mayer, Emily Maitlis. I listen to Dot and Adebayo on 5 Live in the middle of the night when I get up early.
Yeah.
And I love his connection with people. He is wonderful. He just connects. You can hear it coming out of the radio. I really like Paddy O'Connell, who presents Broadcasting House on Sunday mornings on Radio 4. Again, he asks excellent questions, but he's got a lightness of touch. He's informal. I love that kind of informality. But again, he's super, super polite. So there's something there with all of those. They're all really courteous, you know, but it doesn't mean they can't ask the bold.
No, I think it sounds like that's the balance you've got to achieve, you know, make people feel comfortable enough to be asked all these, you know, these questions, which can be intrusive, but you just got to, you know, play it in a certain way. What else? I mean, it sounds, obviously you're a professional, but do you ever get nervous, like interviewing? Do you get starstruck when you're interviewing MPs or anyone like that? Or
I definitely get nervous sometimes, and it's usually a big program, a big sort of set piece program where let's say it's you know, we've got the 5 candidates who want to be the next leader of the Labour Party, and we've got an audience of 50 or 75 people. The 5 candidates there, I've got to know everything about all those 5, what they think about all sorts of different policies. It's a live program, anything can happen. Audience, you get a real energy off the audience. I love that. They're asking questions. I'm trying to listen really carefully to what all the candidates are saying and to what the audience is saying. Before something like that, I do feel really nervous.
Yeah, it's like an exam.
It is like an exam. That's exactly right. And the only way to deal with it is to have done my prep. I mean, I'm you know, doing the work is the most important thing. And as soon as I start, as soon as I open my mouth, I think, okay, I know this stuff. It's fine. But yeah, I definitely get nervous about big interviews, stuff that I've spent hours preparing and thinking about. But again, if you've done the work, like an exam, you should be all right.
Definitely. It must be it's reassuring to hear that, you know, someone as successful as yourself still gets nervous.
Right.
I think it is normal though. I think I've seen interviews with Kanye West and all these, you know, like massive pop stars, rappers, and you know, they still seem to get nervous on stage. I think it just
that's good. If you
adds some excitement, right?
Yeah, and also if you're not nervous, then maybe you've got to a point of complacency or even arrogance, and then it's time to stop, you know? Because if you're not nervous, you might not do the work.
Yeah, definitely. I feel like, I'm guessing that you don't get bored, you know. It's such a varied industry, isn't it?
No way you can get bored in journalism. It's different every single day. There's just no way.
Yeah. Is there anything that you wish you could do more of or less of?
I would like to do more stories about, you know, that are targeted at people who are what's described as the underserved audience, which is younger people, working class people, people from diverse backgrounds. It's not always possible to do that. I do what I can. But yeah, I would like to do more of that.
It must be difficult representing the whole country, you know, what's a nation of 70 million.
Yeah, it is
people.
difficult. It is difficult. And also, in terms of doing those stories, I've got to do them in between my shifts of when I'm doing the news. So, but it's fine. I'm not complaining. It's just a bit of a
No,
juggling act, you know.
of course. Well, with every job there are pros and cons.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're an early bird because you do tweet early.
I love getting up early. I love
Uh,
it's so dark now. Sorry.
it's okay. Whatever.
I do like getting up early. I like getting up and out and sort of having the first go at the news. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then also it's meant quite often, I mean, my kids are teenagers now, but it's meant that I've been around in the afternoon when they've had school, all of which I wanted to do, and be there when they're having their tea and supervise the homework and all that.
Yeah, it's nice. So you're not compromising on your family life. Lovely. What do you more personal questions, personal, but what do you like to do in your spare time? Like as a person, what are your hobbies? I mean,
Literally hang out with my friends, get drunk, dance,
yeah,
go to a few gigs, and yeah, just since I've had breast cancer, I feel like my life is all about experiences, whether it's going on a holiday with all my mates or getting married or going on, I'm a celeb. It's just, I'm trying to fit as much as I can into whatever time I've got left.
of course, yeah. I'm sure your perspective must have changed on time.
Yeah,
Do you feel like you can accomplish more now?
maybe. I've never thought of it like that. I don't know if it's about accomplishing more. It's just about doing more. Even
Yeah,
doing a lot before, now I want to do even more. Do you know what I mean?
live life to its fullest. Why not?
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Totally.
What's your drink of choice?
Oh my God, my drink of choice would be rosé wine with loads
Oh,
of.
really?
Yeah, yeah, I do love a glass of rosé.
Yeah. So you mentioned that you're still in contact with some of your university friends.
Yeah.
That's
Uh,
nice then.
country. Yeah, we swap birthday cards, Christmas cards. One of them lives in London, so I see her. Um, yeah, yeah,
That's nice.
time. So yeah,
Well,
I'm
people
kind of.
do say, university friends are your friends for life.
You're right, defo. You have to. You go through so many experiences, like growing up experiences. That, of course, I would hate to think I wasn't in touch with them.
No, that is nice. Do you wish that there was more, I guess, of a scope for media in Liverpool?
What do you mean?
That wasn't worded very well, but when you think of London, our country is very London centric. All of the media is concentrated there. I suppose, that might link to the class inequality issues of, say, a northern journalist wanted to move down, wanted to work in the media. A lot of the time, it feels like you've got to make the big move down to London. Some of us are lucky, have parental
Yeah.
support, but it's not the same for a lot of. Sorry, I was speaking. Go on. Sorry.
That's the same. I don't know if that's the case anymore. I mean, you think about the BBC's moving stuff out all the
Yeah,
time.
Salford.
You know, Glasgow, uh, Newcastle. I mean, just Bristol. Maybe I don't. Maybe certainly in the 90s, I thought I had to move to London. And I wanted to move to London. I'm not sure you have to do that now. I don't feel.
So, would you say if you were, I suppose, in my position or in the same position in this day and age, what would you maybe relocate to Manchester? You're from Lancashire, right?
Yeah. Where do you live? Where do your parents live?
Sheffield. Boring city, I'll tell you that.
I bet it's not.
I think it's just the fact that you've grown up somewhere. And
Yeah,
it's,
no, fair enough, fair enough.
uh,
I mean, I would, if I, for what it's worth, I would. What do you want to do? What kind of journalist do you want to be?
See, I'm a bit stuck because I like writing long form things. On things I suppose inform my identity, like not exclusively, but I have written quite a lot on misogyny, rapists, things like that. I like people stories as well. I also love people, that's the thing. So I feel like the idea of broadcast is, really interesting to me, but I also do like writing.
You need to send, pitch stuff to women's magazines then.
Yeah.
In that sense, it doesn't matter where you are in the country. I mean, especially now after the pandemic, it doesn't, you could live in the States and write for graphics, couldn't you? It's no biggie.
No, that is true. I think for a lot of people, it's sort of, they've, they I think it's like a gut instinct, like like print or broadcast, hoping that moment comes. But right now, I like both. I've worked with some really cool people at BBC Radio Merseyside. They're so lovely, and it just makes me miss Liverpool. Just the Scouse accent is just so friendly, and yeah, I feel like working in Liverpool would be quite cool, to be fair.
Well, could you not get freelance shifts there?
Probably, but I don't want to ask. They probably have lots of people.
Ask.
I know, but yeah, I could do. I do really like Liverpool. I feel like, have you ever, as a student, did you ever do any work for did you do anything for the Echo or like any? No. Well, I don't blame you once if you're not into writing.
I mean, before that, before I went to, I can't actually remember what it was, but I did some work experience at the Bolton Evening News. So, but yeah, I can't remember when that was. Anyway, I know I didn't do anything at the Echo.
No. But so what's it like now? Like, so now you live in London. Like, do you have much family back in Lancashire? Do you often visit?
Mum is in Bolton.
Oh, lovely.
So we go and see her. She's actually just about to move down south. It's like a massive move, selling the family.
Oh.
She's 81, so it's a big deal.
Yeah, it's exciting.
I mean, it is exciting, but it's also frightening for her, which I get. But
yeah,
we're all down south, so it's time. She's doing it. It's her decision, but it's a big deal.
Of course, you must. When you've lived somewhere for so long, you get comfortable, don't you?
Right, and also it's the family home. We've, got so many memories of that home. Parties, what have you.
You are quite sentimental, aren't you? I know you keep a diary.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah.
Do you still update it regularly?
Of course.
Yeah.
Right.
That's good. Do you? Well, it's a great thing, that your kids are so socially aware, just naturally being in the environment that they are in. Do they take an interest in the news, do you reckon?
They really do. They ask about stuff. They want to talk about stuff. The older one has expressed a kind of interest in journalism, maybe, but I mean, he's only 18, so
Yeah, there's no pressure at this young age. Do you ever go out with your family and get I suppose harassed by starstruck people like me in public?
I never get harassed. People talk to me, people smile at me, people are so nice. I love chatting to them.
That's good.
Lovely. Yeah, no one ever harasses me.
So it's never been your kids are in spotlight and it's a bit difficult for them, and you're constantly monitored. Not a Kim K situation.
No, Jesus, no.
What kind of, so obviously you consume a lot of news content. What TV shows do you like? Do you like reality TV? I know you're on I'm a Celeb.
So in terms of terrestrial TV, I only really watch I'm a Celeb, maybe a bit of Strictly towards the end of the series, but then stuff on, various digital channels. But really, I watch a lot of news, so it's quite boring. But I watch Newsnight and Channel News and stuff like that.
Oh, it's not boring. It's interesting. I think a lot of people. I feel like a lot of people these days, especially my age, I'm almost 22, don't really listen to the news. I think it's considered quite strange if you do actually at my age. Where do I like Spotify podcasts. I like NewsHour, newscast. They are long. Just when you wake up in the morning or before you go into bed, tidying your room, just want to listen to something.
That's interesting.
You were on newscast, weren't you, the other day?
was standing in a few times just because Adam, yeah, he was. I don't know where he was, but anyway, he was off. So yeah, I did it. Really, I like doing that. It's really good.
Yeah. Do you like know everyone then at the BBC basically?
No, no, I do not.
That's a big company, I guess.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, but it's nice when you get to like. I know a couple of the people who work on newscast, but some I don't, and you just get to know them, and they're all really nice, you know.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm getting an email.
Emails coming in. Sorry, sorry.
No, it's okay. What else? I guess might be taking you back a little while, but back to Liverpool. Do you remember like your favorite bar or anything like that?
Oh my God, there's this pub where you sat in sort of booths, and you had your own little jukebox on the wall.
Oh,
I want to say the Pilgrim.
I don't think I've heard of that.
I wonder if it's still there.
Yeah.
I'll Google it now. Where you go in Liverpool in terms of bars and stuff?
Did you ever go to the Brick House?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. You used to play darts there. I wouldn't have remembered the name.
Did you? Yeah.
That doesn't look like it to me. I found it.
Oh, is it still there?
Literally with the little jukeboxes. Yeah, it's still there.
I've never heard of it. It's the Pilgrim. Oh, I don't know anyone that's been there.
Oh my God. What street is it on?
Is that Unlocks a Memory?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God, it's all still there.
Wow. Might have to go. Oh, on Pilgrim Street in the Georgian Quarter?
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, it was ace there. I used to go there. But yeah, the little booths with the jukeboxes. Great.
I had
Yeah.
no idea.
House. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
We might have to take that recommendation. I think that's Georgian Quarter. That must be near. Have you been to Moose
No.
Cafe? It's lovely. I mean, if you're ever up in Manchester, I think they have one there too. It's on Hope Street in the Georgian Quarter. They do the best pancakes.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I feel like whenever like I get off the train at Lime Street, I feel like I'm in a different country. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It just feels, you know, Scouse, not English. No, in a good way. Like it feels I guess big city vibes, even though not as big as London or anything. Do you reckon you'll always live in London then? I mean, it makes sense, doesn't it?
So now, because, you know, my kids are at school here, although one's about hopefully going to uni, all my friends, friends that I've made in the last long 20 years. Yeah. My job's here. Yeah, I think that's
got all your connections and everything.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Do you think that so you're what was I gonna say? Right, hold that thought. Let me remember what I was gonna ask. Well, what are your favorite podcasts to listen to?
I do like newscast. I'm not. Sometimes I listen to the Economist podcasts.
Oh yeah.
I've listened to one of the ones made by Tortoise. I'm not a massive podcast listener. My husband makes podcasts for a living. I've listened to his. He's quite a lot of true crime.
That's sweet, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm not a mega podcast listener like some people are.
No, it is nice. I mean, I suppose you're listening to people's voices all the time. Maybe, you know, you must get sick of it.
No, I don't. I listened to it way before anybody else did, but only because my husband had started listening to it, and he was like, "Oh my God, you've got to listen to this." It was it was amazing.
Well, did you have a good Valentine's Day? I just remembered. It was yesterday, wasn't it?
It was, yeah. Yes. I mean, I got up early. Mark had left me a card and some chocolate. I left his. And he's in Ireland. He's recording some stuff. So he's back tonight. I've got to go and collect him from the airport soon.
Lovely. You're... It's all right. I just didn't do anything. I went home to my non-existent boyfriend. Okay, just keep it that way for a while, I guess. I guess what advice would you give, you know, the prospective journalists of today, like myself and my peers?
I would say get on with doing the stories. Whether writing about them or recording stuff on social media, there's no excuse not to do it. You know, you've got so many opportunities, so just get on with it.
No, you're right. You know, you've highlighted an interesting point, because a lot of the time myself and my peers always complain about how difficult the industry is to break into. But you know what? Like you said, over the last couple of decades, there is actually so much, so many ways into it that we should pay more heed to. And would you say that as a journalist it kind of affects, because I'm just trying to think, a lot of the time politicians and journalists are quite friendly with each other. Do you ever notice or witness, can you actually interview people that are like, say you've got a mate that's in like parliament, not you necessarily, is that allowed? Does that ever affect things?
I don't mix with politicians. I don't live in that world. I think
Yeah,
journalists who do have friends who are politicians and vice versa. But I don't know how it affects them when it comes to a story. I don't know, because I'm never in that. I'm not in that position. Do you know what I mean?
that's quite nice, I suppose. You're not sort of influenced by anything like that. Because I can imagine if your best mate's Matt Hancock and you're, you know, a broadcaster for the BBC, it might be a bit tricky.
Maybe.
Yeah. So any upcoming, anything new that you're allowed to talk about that you're doing?
I'm not. There's nothing I can tell you that's interesting. Literally nothing I can tell you, I'm afraid. No, I'm just carrying on doing what I do.
Day-to-day life. So what will you do after this call, do you reckon? Rosé or not?
No, I've got to drive to the airport to pick my.
Oh yes, you do. Yeah, can't be caught drink driving.
And also, I'm getting up early tomorrow, so I won't be drinking anything tonight.
Yeah. Do you have to wake up really early then for your job? I assume that might be.
Yeah. About 4:30.
That is early. And how long? So when do you tend to finish when you start then?
It depends. I mean, so for example, the shift today, I was on air between 9 and 11, and then I did some work in the office, and then I went to record the breast cancer podcast, which is the Future Dreams one, and then I got home.
Great charity. I was quite impressed when I visited.
Yeah, they were good. Zeenia, listen, I've got to go because I've got to go to the airport.
Yeah, that's fine. Well, I hope you and Mark have a nice evening.
We will. Thank you for your brilliantly thoughtful questions. Honestly, I do appreciate it.
Oh no, thank you so much for meeting me. You know, you're a very busy person, an important person, might I add.
As if. Email me if you needed any, advice or whatever.
Oh, thank you so much. Well, I hope you have a good evening.
Nice to see you.
Yeah, you too. Thanks, Victoria. Bye.